time when they're finished?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All emotions are like a bottle. They get tipped out, tipped out, tipped out, tipped out until at the end all emotion will just pass through you and you won't hold on to anything.
It's very hard to trust that.
It is, but let's look at it from a theory point of view. When you were a little child, right? So here's you as a little child, let's say. Well, better call it dressing. So you're a little child. What you're doing is you're absorbing emotion from your environment, right? So you're absorbing emotion from your mum, a lot from your dad, but also a lot from other areas of your environment, right? So
Grandparents.
parents, grandparents, all sorts of things, all absorbing into you. Now, normally with a child, what would happen is every one of those emotions would just pass straight through them. In other words, they'd allow the experience of the emotion completely and it would never enter them. It would just pass through them. So every emotion that you got from your mother would normally just pass through you. So let's say mum's angry, you would feel angry. Mum's sad, you would cry. But you would, under normal circumstances, it would just pass through you to completion. But what happens is that
you'd feel it and release it.
You'd feel it and release it as you're going, right? But what happens is, what do the parents then do with you crying? So they shut you down. So your parents are now not only giving you the emotion, but on top of that now, what they're doing is shutting you down from actually having it pass through you. So they're saying, no, 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 no. I'm giving you these emotions, but you're not allowed to have them go through you. You've got to just bottle them all up. That's what they're saying to you. So what happens is the emotion fills up, fills up, fills up in you, doesn't flow through, and eventually you're full to the brim of these really, really damaging emotions. Does that make sense?
When you start to turn in, is that when you
Well, you turn in usually a long time before that, but you just keep getting hammered even when you turn in. Even when you go within yourself, your parents are still hammering you with their emotions that they don't want to own, and they're still telling you the things that shut you down so you don't experience them. Every time you want to get into a temper tantrum, what do? Shut that down too, give you a belting for that. Then you get injustice feelings on top of that. You know, how unjust is it to have a parent's emotion pass through you, you're experiencing it, and then they also punish you for experiencing their emotion that they should have been owning in the first place. Right? That is a very damaging thing that's going on, right? This has happened to all of us, by the way. So what's happened is it's filled us up. It's filled us up full of crap, right? Because we couldn't allow the full expression of it. You could say that the emotion is frozen. Because remember, like, emotion is energy in motion, right? When it's frozen, it's just frozen energy inside of you, killing you. It's literally killing you. This is why we get disease. This is why we get sick. This is why we have all the damages occur. It's killing us, this emotion that's frozen. Now, every single one of those emotions needs to pass through us. That's all needs to happen. It just needs to pass through us. And of course, there is a limit to how long, like how many of those emotions there are. Because we only had a finite life so far, haven't we? So.
Is that to do with the chakras?
Well, the chakras are a reflection of, the spirit's body's reflection of the emotions in the soul. Right? So the emotions in the soul actually control your chakras. So you know when people do spiritual healing on you and get your chakras open and all those kind of things, your soul has already closed them down anyway. Because your soul is full of these emotions that are closed down, that you are frozen in time, that you do not want to experience. You follow me? And what we need to do is allow their experience. They are all going to be very childlike in nature. And that's okay. Because we need to allow their experience. Right? Now if we do that, if we let that happen, what will happen is this emotion will just pass through us and we'll be free of it completely.
Question here. You told us when we come to the world, we get inherited a lot of emotions from our parents. So
That's how it happened.
it happened in the moment we come to Earth.
As soon as we incarnated, as soon as we actually incarnated, the emotions that we had we started absorbing emotion from our surroundings, from the moment of incarnation. So the moment that your spirit, that your soul connected with the spirit and material bodies that were created in mum's womb, from that moment you are absorbing emotion. And any emotion that your parents have not experienced, you will be experiencing from that moment. Every emotion that your parents have locked up within them, you will experience from that moment. Everything. And that's how we became full of this stuff. But even then, even in the womb, they pass through us if our mother lets them pass through her. Right? They're only damaging when she shuts down, her father shuts down, we shut down. Right? When we shut down, they start filling us up. They're like a bottle of water that hasn't got a tap on the bottom, right? Filling up, filling up, filling up throughout our life. And once you make the choice to tip it all out, just how much you need to tip out will just depend on how much has got in there, how much you didn't fully experience. That's all. Now, with God's love, a lot of this stuff can come out so rapidly, and this is why I've addressed this issue today about dealing with your frustration, anger, resentment, and grief with God. Because if you do that, then you will find the whole process becomes much, much easier on you. Right? Much easier. If you do not do that, then you'll be doing it on your own. And that is a lot harder. It's a lot harder to work through these emotions on your own. So allow yourself to deal with the emotions you feel about God. Right? And the thing that determines that is your relationship, the parent relationships, the injuries you have with the feminine, the injuries you have with the masculine, and the specific injuries you have with God. Let yourself work through them.